Have you ever wondered why governments are set up in the way they are? Why one candidate wins an election and another loses? Why the Affordable Care Act was passed but repealing it is proving to be so difficult? Political scientists are the individuals who work to answer those questions so that we may all have a better understanding of how our government works. As a novice entering the field of political science, I set out to better understand how the research that political scientists conducted is written about and shared with the public. I wanted to see also how the experts were communicating amongst themselves. I decided to interview Dr. Peter Ciavelis, a comparative government specialist at Wake Forest University, to help understand the conventions and rhetorical choices that political science writers make. Comparative politics focuses on the formal and informal institutions of different governments and how they operate.
What we try and do is not just describe stuff, but some of the stuff that we've talked about in class, figure out an interesting question facing political science, and then try and take your data, information, and knowledge and apply it to that question and test that question.
There are a few overarching themes in the field, such as commitment to APA citation style and an emphasis on ethos and logos in writing. However, the political science field is basically split into two genres due to the competing qualitative and quantitative approaches, with a paper written for one approach looking completely alien when held up to next to another approach. When I first entered the political science field, I had no idea that such a great divide existed. When you think of academic disciplines, you usually believe that there is some overarching correct or right way to conduct research and write. Political science is unique in the sense that it does not have one defined way to present information. The formatting, language, and type of evidence can vary widely depending on the audience. This split has caused controversy in the political science field. In the 1990s, there was a huge rebellion where an anonymous person started a mailing list that included the most prominent political scientists that was rebelling against the statistical-driven quantitative approach where only the numbers, regressions, and experiments matters. This story made it all the way to the New York Times and led to the creation of a sister journal, Presidential Studies Quarterly, for the industry-leading American Political Science Review that addressed the qualitative and quantitative split. The result of the split is two distinct genres that have emerged within the political science field, that each has their own distinct values and conventions. Dr. Ciavelis calls it a chicken and egg problem. This can make it hard for those questions about how government is set up and why certain legislation passes to be fully answered. The top political scientists on the editorial boards of the top journals are from universities like
NYU, Harvard, London School of Economics, MIT, University of Chicago, University of Michigan. But these people are the gatekeepers in terms of what gets published, and they prefer statistical analyses because that's what they do.
Yeah.
But also these are the gatekeepers for tenure.
The quantitative article is laid out more like a science article. It is divided into numbered sections and subsections and also has the 2-column per page layout that many science articles have now. It does not follow a strict IMRED format, but Dr. Ciavelis says that in the top statistical journals, it will say hypothesis, data, methods, results, test, and it will follow that. The article also heavily references figures and charts that are used as evidence. The qualitative paper is laid out more like a traditional case study. It does not have an abstract, whereas the quantitative paper does, and is a series of non-numbered sections headings. It makes use of a few tables and graphs, but the article does not lean heavily on them for evidence, but instead uses them to help illustrate what is being said in the text. They are secondary evidence, while the figures and tables in the quantitative article are primary evidence. It also reads much easier. It is written to flow and be read as a cohesive unit, whereas the statistical approach is broken up so that you can jump to a specific section, get your data or argument, and leave the rest of the paper unread. The statistics are also not fully explained, so you must have an advanced understanding of statistics to even understand what the article is arguing. Dr. Ciavelis joked, I have a PhD in political science, and I don't even understand some of this.
And then, of course, you want your writing to be clear and understandable, and I think that political scientists don't always do that. Like, a lot of jargon, and like in my own work, it just depends on what I'm writing. because a lot of times, like for the specialized journal articles, I want the audience to be other political scientists, other people interested in what I do. And those are more theoretical, they use more method. But then there's another audience that I try and get to too, an other style of writing that I have. Like I've done stuff for current history, I've done stuff for Harvard, and that's going to be for a different audience. That's going to be for people like at the State Department, people that are in politics, and even just people interested in foreign affairs that might pick up a journal like Current History or Foreign Policy. Part of what your project is making political science relevant, because like right now Congress consistently proposes cutting the budget for the National Science Foundation political science program because they say our work is irrelevant and it doesn't matter, and so it has to matter. And I try to make my work matter and be significant to like real politics, not just theory or not just a nice calculation or a nice regression, which is what a lot of political science is right now.
For his qualitative case study, his evidence and language has greatly shifted. Now he's using first-hand interviews with former presidents and top governmental officials as the main evidence for his argument. The result is a qualitative paper that was much more enjoyable to read and one that was easier to understand. The field would be most effective if it was not divided and people would embrace the competing approaches instead of ignoring them. This would lead to more ideas being shared with different people and lead to new and exciting questions being answered.